starting on 1, running on 5. That is the ba-bum. It's important to sing while you're up here. Okay, Stacy, please.
Hi, Michael.
Introduce
Are we
yourself.
live?
We
Yes,
are
we're
so
live.
live.
We're so live. Great. Well, I'm Stacy. I've been on HAPS once before, still a newbie, exploring the whole space. I work with everybody that's live here with you. Yeah, it's Sunday.
So, okay, let's go with Fred next.
What else, do you want to know anything else about me, Michael? I don't know. That's all I have right now.
Well, here's the thing. You can go as deep, as you want, or you can make up a name, whatever works for you. I want everyone to feel safe. But I'm going to start by just saying, Fred, what is your feeling about HAPS so far in this lovely... And
I've been using HAPS for about 6 hours now, and I have to say I'm pretty impressed. I'm a long time listener, first time broadcaster. Okay. And by that I mean long time listener to you, Michael, both live and on digital mediums.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So, please, do you want to share a little bit about yourself? If you do that.
Okay. I work with Stacy and John. I have a big background in IT. I've been a nerd since before it was cool, as per my title. And outside of all that fun stuff, I don't know, father of 2. I like bikes. I wish I was outside more. I can't stand cold weather. So yeah, now I'm locked in my basement and trying to have fun like this.
Okay. How well do you know the next guy here? John
and I have an interesting and storied history. I'll introduce John my way, and before he can introduce himself, we used to live.
Oh, good.
We used to live in the same city. We used to play hockey together. We played with a bunch of teachers, so they would book ice times at around 5 o'clock when most of the normal population are getting off of work. So I would often be late to hockey. One time, John asked me why the heck I was always so late, and I told him about how long my commute was and where I worked. And then it occurred to me that he was the only one in the dressing room that actually did understand my nerd humor. And that led us into discussions about maybe, joining me at work. And don't worry, an hour and a half commute's not so bad. I mean, I know it was far. And then he joined me at our place of employment. And then I moved. It was like a little bit of a bait and switch. It was like, yeah, come, it's not so bad. You'll get used to the commute. Just listen to some podcasts. And hey, guess what? I'm moving to London. So anywho. But that was like 5 years ago, and he's still around, so I couldn't have insulted him too much.
So, John, would you like to share any other details besides the bro romance maybe going on there for many years?
The long con that is the Fred Chagnon modus operandi. Is that anything else to share on that? No, I've been working with Fred for 5 years. I've been friends with Fred for closer to 6 years. I think we played hockey for about a year before.
Probably.
We realized our mutual passion for all things nerdy and IT related. I got the chance to meet Stacy, about 2 years ago, back when we'd actually do that sort of thing in person. And Mike was the nicest guy I'd met at Infotech, second to Fred, because technically I didn't meet Fred at Infotech. So Mike, you were the nicest guy I met at Infotech when I did my first workshop and came to the temple in Toronto. Bright-eyed newbie with a shaven face because, I don't know, I was trying to look younger then. And you took me under your wing and made sure that I could get around that labyrinthine building of ours.
Do you guys remember our photo shoot we did?
Yes, I do. In fact,
do you remember that?
My Haps.tv profile picture is that image. And I didn't do that just for you, Michael, but now that you mention it, it does seem very serendipitous.
Would it be okay if we talked about fitness first? Because I know 2 of the individuals here are very passionate about it. So, Stacy, would you like to talk about fitness first? And then after you're done, each of you, what you want to say about fitness, figure out who's going to ask a question they feel passionate about.
Or topic. Well, yes. I love running. In high school, I was in track and field. I was a long jumper, a hurdler, and triple jumper. did a 4x4 relay as well. So I've always been, into fitness, but in the last year, probably 2 years, I got into running and I really enjoyed that. But then the pandemic hit and you're kind of going, well, do I run with a mask? Where do I run? What do I do? So I bought a Peloton. So I've been obsessed with what is known as Peloton right now. I didn't think I would be because of that commercial. What was it, last winter? And it was very in poor taste, I guess. And I was just like, oh, that's just not me. But last fall, I was kind of going, what am I going to do during the winter? Like, I live in Toronto. I don't really want to run and slip on the ice. And I'm like, what am I going to do? There's no gyms that are open. So I splurged and bought the Peloton, and it just opened. I was open to their community. Like, they have a dedicated community on Facebook, and just the way that it's connected and the algorithm that they have. And to be honest, I think that they modeled their experience after Netflix as well, where you can choose your classes, etc. So yeah, I was addicted right out of the gate. After my first ride, I was just like, I love this. And you can find it, pretty much anybody can find a class on that on Peloton. But I ended up working out a little too much, to be honest. I kind of was joking with Fred that I was just like, every day I would just get on it because it was just such a great experience. You were connecting, you were exercising, you were connecting with the instructor live, but then also on the side, you can communicate with other people that are, that have the bike. And it was just a great experience. And now I'm down. I took a week off. And now I'm back to 5 days a week, which is more manageable.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's my Peloton story. It was, yeah.
Stacy, can I? I'm a feely kind of guy, like, you know what I mean, feeling. So, was this a great stress release for you during these times? Because we need distractions.
Oh, for sure.
That are healthy.
For sure. Like last fall, I had an operation, and I was kind of needing to get back to normal, and so it helped me. It was like my therapist for a while. The instructors were actually kind of, my therapist, and also the community, just kind of mentally and physically. So yeah, I felt like, before that, I felt a bit like a caged bird, like, what am I going to do? We're in lockdown. So it was a great release. It really helped me.
Okay, you're next, Fred.
I had a pretty similar experience, but on a completely different platform, right? So I'm also a cyclist, but I was using, like last year through 2020, I was using Zwift. But I had a similar kind of, online community kind of experience with it. But it sounds like I'm learning about Peloton just hearing you talk about it, Stacy. But it sounds to me like Peloton gives you more of like a Netflix kind of like streaming content experience. I would describe Zwift as being more like an online gaming world experience. So you don't choose your workout in the sense that you're choosing like a show you're going to watch. You choose your workout more in like, it's like a mini game within a game you're going to play. That's how, and maybe that's just because I'm more of a video gamer than a TV watcher, but that's what it feels like to me. But I had a similar kind of approach to it where in December 2019, I was in a car accident and I couldn't run. Like when I was recovering, one of the things I found out immediately was I couldn't run. And like, I don't know, Stacey, if you remember when we were in Florida right before the pandemic started, like we were running around the block, and that was too much for me. That was sort of part of my learning. Like, I can't actually do this. I need to do something else to maintain some level of fitness that isn't going to impact my joints, because I was still recovering. And I was already an avid cyclist, but I just decided that was what I was really going to lean into. So that's, when I got the trainer and I got it all set up for Zwift, and I was doing the same thing where I would, Zwift would allow you to host or join group rides. So I found a group that scheduled group rides. There was one every day. It gave me some, if I said I was going to be there, it was that thing that I could be accountable to, right? So it was like, oh, it looks like this group's going to have another group ride Monday at 8 a.m. Well, I guess I better be up and have breakfast for that. Oh, and the Tuesday one starts at 9 p.m. Looks like I'm not going to make any plans Tuesday night. And so, it was the same experience that Stacy had, where I was on the bike probably 4 to 5 times a week, just indoors. But and then they would connect. They would join like a voice chat on Discord. So you get like 50 people in the room, but there's usually only like the same 5 to 10 people talking. And so you hear kind of the same voices. You form a community. They got to know, oh, it's that Fred guy from London, with the Canadian accent, because everybody's from all around the world, right? You get people from Australia that are cycling at 3 a.m. their time. It was a really good kind of community. Now I still use Zwift, but I use it very differently now. The community aspect, the social aspect it felt really necessary. Earlier in the pandemic, when that need for connection felt really strong. Not like I don't need people around anymore, but I use it now a little less socially and a little bit more like I will schedule. I'll join people I know for rides that are on our schedule, right? I'll say, hey Michelle, you want to join me on a ride? I just got off one. It's Sunday at 8 a.m. And
Fred, I want to go a little deeper here, just for a second, as an observer. Okay, you have lost a shit ton of weight. You look like the son of the guy I knew. You look freaking awesome. Your wife must be very happy to have this new form.
Yeah, I've
look at that.
My God, 50 pounds last year.
Yeah,
I gained about 20 pounds of hair. But I've lost 50 pounds of body weight. Yeah, and that was just basically the cycling, because I was outdoors a lot too in the summer.
So you should be very proud of yourself, what you've accomplished.
Yeah, thank you.
So you lost 50 pounds?
Yep.
Wow, that's
amazing.
That's a little person. You lost a little person.
When you're lying around not moving because of what happened after the car accident, that's when I finally got up to the scale and I went, oh crap. That was the moment where I was like, that was the moment where I'm like, I need to run. I need to, because I had triathlons on the horizon. They were canceled last year, obviously. But I was like, I need to really get into training. And that's why I discovered very quickly the things that I could not do. And therefore I had to course correct and get into the things that I did do. And I ended up really enjoying those things. So, I actually wasn't doing it to lose weight. That was not the objective. That just ended up being the outcome of me finding something I really, really liked and just decided that was all I wanted to do right now.
Are you eating better?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I started tracking what I ate and all that. Yeah. So, once I saw those effects and could compare it with way better eating, I mean, that's ultimately.
Fred, isn't it amazing where one good decision leads into another good decision, which leads into another good decision?
Yeah.
Okay, so I really feel bad right now for John. Like, John has been so patient in the background here. He is clearly.
Exercise, John.
Oh, you be nice.
I didn't even hear that. Did I get burned by Stacy?
No.
And so we're talking about exercise, John.
So the implied burn. I have not lost 50 pounds during the pandemic. I've put on weight, unfortunately, during the pandemic. Exercising for me was always something social, and it's really taken a big, massive hit. I mean, I don't get the same inherent high that I hear a lot of people sort of talk about when they, going to the gym and they sort of, it energizes them. I mean, I feel tired after going to the gym. It's a utility thing for me. So, sort of as Fred was saying, I need some way to make it fun, right? And that, sort of when I was listening to Fred, I was gravitating towards that notion of the community, right, as a way to make it engaging and fun and sort of get some benefit out of it. Because, I was decently active, sort of generally, but it was all in the guise of doing something social, right? Like, I didn't, ask Fred. I was no great hockey player. I was joining that hockey team for, to show off my hockey skills and continue my dreams of, potentially getting drafted by the Maple Leafs. I was going because I wanted to hang out with people and have a good time. And, it's the same way I played soccer.
My favorite part about
John?
hockey was arriving and leaving. Right, the dressing room on both sides of actually playing was what I enjoyed the most about hockey. I was always watching the clock, going, "Jesus, are we done yet?" I wonder if you're the same way, but that was I'm with you. Like the community and the social aspect was why I was there.
Yeah.
How old were you guys when you did these activities?
Well, 6 years ago. So 30,
Okay.
When did I pick up? So I played hockey when I was a young kid, but I stopped when I was like 9 or 10.
Yeah.
And then I picked it up again when I was 38, 37, I think. I think I played for a couple years before.
I moved to Guelph when I was 31, and that's when I started playing again. And I met John probably in my mid-30s.
Okay, we're going to switch up here. This has been actually Hap's goal so far. Very personal, and not dry. It's been wonderful. I've not cringed once. Thank you so much. This has been fantastic. So, Stacey, it's your turn. You're going to pick a topic. I picked the first one. Now you get to pick. Or a question.
Yes. So we kind of went into my Peloton obsession with exercise, but I've also been really fascinated with online communities in general. What's going on now, with the pandemic and how people are trying to, connect with one another through different methods and the new channels that are popping up, such as Haps. Clubhouse is another one. I spent not all day yesterday, but a good portion of yesterday kind of just going through Clubhouse and kind of checking out the different rooms there. And it's overwhelming and fascinating. And I guess my big question that I would love to kind of have you guys also, take a crack at answering is what is it going to be like after the pandemic? We're all from home right now. We're able to easily connect and join Haps on a Sunday morning. I just think it's going to change. I don't think we're going to be as available just to kind of pop into a room and chat and have a decent audience. That's kind of on my mind now. I don't know, John or Fred, if you have any thoughts on that. It's just the online community is needed right now.
Because not only is it what we're doing as sort of like, professionals and adults, but I look at what my two teenagers are doing, right? So I've got a teenager that's like in their last year of high school. I've got another one that goes into high school soon, right? Kind of in that age group. And they're both engaged in their own communities as well. So it's not something that's kind of scheduled and done like this. But my 12-year-old son, he likes to broadcast and stream. That's kind of there. He's the extrovert, right? So he's doing that. What's going to happen when he has less kind of forced indoor time? Because he's very outdoor kid. And I think that so for him, it's just kind of a filling the gap. I think it's going to dwindle off, and I think if you take that and scale it out, it's I think a lot of these communities are going to kind of taper off a little bit. Sorry, John, go ahead.
No, I just want to follow up on that. So why is there a tie-in to sort of the indoor locality of it, right? There's lots of streaming. Our friend Andy frequently streams and live feeds from his bike ride. He's like biking through various trails in Toronto, talking about data architecture, which is nerdiness lived up to a unique level that only Andy can sort of pull off. But the technology now, like if we look at communities historically, right? I'm dating myself here, but we used to have online communities, and they're massive multiplayer online role-playing games, and it was hundreds of people that were interacting from all across the world in a very sort of niche nerddom kind of way, but they were interacting through text of all things, right? And it wasn't a high fidelity experience. It was weird chat. That was like 30 years ago. Now we've got the ability with iPhones, which are Android devices, which are more powerful than the computers that got us to the moon and back, right? We can take that we can take this streaming platform anywhere. Like we're all sort of traditionally Mike's got a proper mic set up. I'm in a spare bedroom. Stacey's got a well composed. Fred, you're in essentially an office space. But I think that's a construct of us being, old farts. If we were the younger crowd, we'd be, I think, out, lounging on a couch with an iPhone, or we could be just as easily out on the back patio, right? So
I think it's about taking that thing that right now is sort of anchored in indoor, right? So when I talk about my son streaming, like he's basically playing games and streaming the game. That's an indoor activity. Now, if I can take that desire of his to stream content and move it into like, hey, why don't we go mountain biking? And you can stream that. And so that he still gets the kick that he likes out of like, being watched or whatever it is that he's tapping into, but he's doing a different activity, one that's not anchored to a computer. That would be that's where I think these communities might go. So the individual communities might taper off, but I think we're going to see more of them.
So I just want to address something here. There's a legend on HAPS, and his name is Randy W. Horton. And he just gave me a Rare Gem Award for $10. Thank you, Randy. I really appreciate that. So I know we're going off topic here, but this is what I do. And, Stacey knows what I'm like. So, and she willingly came on. So here we go.
You can't revoke your participation now.
No, you're in. You got your toe in the pond. And she actually went in last week with Hans, and she was a rock star. I already told her that. But
thank you. I'm a little tired this morning. It's a Sunday. I needed a couple more coffees. So
yeah, but thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, but no, I was just going to add one more thing to online communities, because I don't know if we're going through a renaissance right now, but like I just going into a couple of the rooms at Clubhouse, I was just like jaw on the floor. I was in one MIT room. So the moderators were MIT engineers, various degrees. And then all of a sudden some guy from NASA pops in and he starts talking about the fact that they're launching helicopters on Mars. Like, will we have access to these people? Like right now, we do have access in Clubhouse and on HAPS to these thought leaders. But, when it opens up again, these people are going to be incredibly busy. They are incredibly busy now. But I guess my question is will we have that type of access to these people? Also, another thing is it's kind of leading the way for just the average person just to get on and have a discussion, a really meaningful discussion like we are here. People are coming out of the woodwork. So I'm just in awe of what is kind of going on these new channels that are popping up.
Yeah, I just want to address something while we're here quickly. So we are a business show. This is the second one we've had in a row. We're currently at 131 views. I noticed the comments aren't as much this time. I think we burnt them out in the first one, but that's okay. We also have another show coming on at 1 as well. I think it's going to be a little zanier, but I don't want to railroad this, but I do want to. We are already into 23 minutes, and you guys could talk for 4 hours. I can tell already. Like there is
like he's hung out with us before.
No, but I have that feeling. Oh, good. We have Mark here. Mark, how are you? Mark is the CEO of HAPS. So, Mark, I would love if you came up even just for a second. And Stacey would love to ask you a couple of questions. You and Stacey.
Would?
Yes, you would.
You're thinking of them right now.
I am. It's going to be on the fly.
You know what I'm like, and we're just gonna leave it at that. Okay, so Mark, if you can come up, I know it's extremely early there for you. If you do, that'd be lovely. But we would just love to have your interaction, and I want to just address a couple things. He's incredibly strict about the people who come on here. And you can't go and start drinking and doing dope and be crazy while you're on here. There is standards. And he has kicked a lot of people off this platform. And that's part of the reason we have these amazing communities. And
so that's an interesting point, right? How much good curation do you need for this to be a functioning community as opposed to the dumpster fire that are other? Because again, I sort of grew up, in the truly unregulated internet, right? And I mean, whether it's MySpace or sort of the early attempts at YouTube, there was a lot of dreck that prevented sort of useful communities from forming. So your opinion, Mike? You think that this is because of good curation? Is that fair?
This
becomes a valuable platform.
This is, and I'm not trying to blow smoke. They care here. They really do care. I was on my first broadcast. I was in the room 40 seconds, maybe 50 seconds, and I met Mark. And Mark didn't know what he was in for, and I gave him a spiritual reading. He kind of forgot where he was. And it went very deep, very quickly. And I thought, well, they're going to take that down quickly. And I think his better half said, no, I want people to see what you're about. And the real you. Michael seems to be able to find the essence of you. And we need to share that part, I think. And we've had that video up now. And I don't know, it's got 4,000 views. But since the day I came here, I have been welcomed and nurtured and guided and supported. I've never had that ever, anywhere, on any platform. So it's an incredible family. I love what you said. It's a social experiment, but so far I'm really enjoying the experiment. Did I answer that correctly, John?
I mean, I think that's the fact that it is nurtured, sort of made you feel safe, right? And that's good. It allows you to feel comfortable expressing ideas. And I think it's that notion of safety, right? Because you're not afraid that there's going to be sort of internet trolls that are going to come after vulnerability or, misspeaking or, that's how I'm interpreting it. So, Stacey, what were you?
Yeah, it's such a great question, John, because Michael, you were telling me how do you moderate a channel, to weed out the trolls? And I think, as you mentioned, Mark is doing a good job just to kind of okay, if you're gonna, I even looked at the guidelines, and you get coins or something if you read the guidelines. I thought that was kind of funny. I'm not here for the coins. I'm here to connect. But on Clubhouse this morning, every day at 7 a.m., you can join a room that is basically going over the Q&As and how to use Clubhouse. And I thought it was interesting when the moderator said, okay, let's talk about trolls. Let's talk about, people coming on, spewing racist comments or whatnot. And it's an invite-only channel. So the only way that you can join Clubhouse is if somebody invited you. So let's say somebody, got in a room and started spewing hatred. The moderator would, remove that person from the channel, but they would also look at the person who invited them. And sometimes that person that would invite them, depending on the situation, would also get booted from the channel. So I thought that was interesting. It's forcing you to kind of think, as an invite-only channel, who am I going to invite? So you want to bring on people that may not, have troll-like behavior. So I thought that was an interesting way that Clubhouse is kind of moderating their channel right now.
I think that speaks largely for how the online communities are evolving and forcing some kind of social accountability over, what you do and who follows you and what they do and how does that reflect on you?
Hi, Mark. Thank you for coming up. Mark, I can tell that you're completely jazzed to be on here.
You caught me mid-workout, Michael.
Well, Mark, I love you, and I appreciate that. But this lovely lady beside you there, Stacey, is the one I told you about that I really think has potential to do amazing things on this channel. And I want her to meet you, and she's also very intuitive. And she's going to be able to figure out, besides your hair this morning, what's going on with you. Yeah, okay.
I told you I was mid workout, Michael. It's
Yeah.
it is 7 a.m. 7:30 in the morning here. So
I want you to defend yourself if you can. So
oh,
I was
geez.
telling
What?
I was telling them about our very first encounter. I think I was on 50 seconds. I think I figured it out. It was 50 seconds. We met each other. Next thing you know, I was reading you. I thought for sure you were going to take that down. You didn't. And I'm just curious. I always thought it was Maya who said, no, you're keeping it up. Am I right or wrong on that?
No, I never had a single moment of thought that I would take it down. I'm an open book. I if I join a broadcast, I'm putting myself out there and available for anybody to ask anything or do anything. So it's
Okay.
So, Mark, I've got a question, if you don't mind asking, just sort of on the topic that we were discussing.
Please.
How, because you've set up this really interesting community. You've got divergent opinions. How do you moderate that as a community, right? Because there's a danger in sort of the model that Stacey was talking about of creating an echo chamber, right? I'm going to boot up people that don't think like me, and that's sort of that social credit type system, and that can get sort of sci-fi scary really, really quickly. But that's not what's happening here. And you've got people that are across different religious perspectives. You've got people that are across different political perspectives. How do you maintain civil discourse in this sort of online medium?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, first of all, it's a huge challenge, as you guys know. I mean, especially in today's day and age. I mean, the fundamental principles of HAPS are all about essentially understanding each other better and listening to each other better. We often talk that our vision statement has been from the beginning and is to connect the world through empathy. And you can't have empathy if you don't listen to each other and understand each other. Even if you disagree with each other, you have to be exposed to it. You have to connect with it. That's the kind of underlying framework that we go off of. But then, as Michael was talking about, we put in place these community guidelines, not to mention the terms of service, and we're just being very disciplined about managing to those community guidelines. And the community guidelines are not about you have to have one perspective or another. All perspectives are welcome as long as you present them in a respectful manner and you respect people's opinions to disagree with those, and the way they communicate that disagreement is respectful as well. And so we get daily emails from people saying you got to kick this person off or that person off because they're saying this or that. We're like, no, we're not kicking people off because they're saying this or that. If they're saying it in a manner that is not constructive, or they're unwilling to allow for other people to have a different perspective or opinion, then let us know and we'll address it. But I feel it's incredibly important for our world to start communicating and understanding each other better. And there was a perfect example of it the other day. We have a broadcaster on this platform, and he's become a bit of a cult hero on YouTube. His name is he goes by Penguin6 on here, and he's become quite a cult hero on YouTube. He's actually just a fascinating guy. I've had several conversations with him, and he's I think he works at a think tank in Washington, D.C., but he likes to broadcast, from the streets of DC. And the other day he went out and did a live broadcast as Marine One, was sitting on the lawn of the White House waiting for the president to come out and go, take off to Andrews Air Force Base and then ultimately go on to Texas. And he was connected to his YouTube account. And there was lots of opinions on there that I don't personally agree with, as you might imagine. But I was so grateful to be exposed to them because, quite honestly, I don't get exposed to them in my everyday life. And it was really valuable to see, for me to see how other people are thinking and feeling about these issues. And, there was some people who wrote us and said, how can you allow this broadcast to stay up? How can you allow those commenters to be on this platform? I view it completely the opposite. That is exactly what we need to be doing. We need to be listening to each other. And as long as, it's not done in a bullying or disrespectful way, we've got to let that happen. That's one of the biggest things that we need to do in the world.
Mark, I just want to ask you a quick question. How many people have asked you to take down the Woo Master, Mike Bathurst? Is anybody?
It's a daily thing, Michael.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for fighting them off. Thank you.
So
how come you're doing the godlike, thing in the background, Michael? You don't want to join us on screen here?
It brings me great joy. I feel like the wonderful Oz. You shall listen.
He's preserving screen real estate.
Yeah, I am actually. That's what
Mark,
I'm doing.
The way you put that, it actually, and I think, John, that this is in how Mark answered your question. It's not. This is exactly how you prevent an echo chamber, is by creating the space for these things to happen, and rather than filtering content based on the subject matter, you filter it based on the more the quality of that subject matter, right? So it kind of reinforces like what I tell my kids all the time, right? I don't care what you say, I care how you say it. Right? We can disagree as long as you say it respectfully. And then I can keep an open mind and listen to a respectful opinion that is counter to my own opinion. And it might not even change my mind. But as long as we have that sort of mutual, as long as there's respect. But if you're just going to come in here and crap all over everything I say and then peace out, I mean, like, that gets nowhere.
So that's really interesting, because when I'm sort of circling around here, and Mark, I'd really appreciate you double checking me, or Stacy, certainly with the greater PRR experience, right? Because the nature of traditional media, which traditional media says this is a dead issue. Like, they basically saying we're screwed. There's two solitudes, and never the two shall meet. Like, there's no compromise. That's the narrative that traditional media has been spewing for the last at least 5 or 6 years, right? Left, right, red, blue, there's no room for the moderates anymore. But traditional media is a broadcast, right? It is a one-to-many communication vehicle. It's not interactive. So Mark, Stacy, in terms of these sort of smaller platforms or more intimate platforms, is that what is allowing and forcing that empathy? Right? Because again, the old traditional days of trolls, it was asynchronous. You wrote your flame and you posted it, and people didn't get around to reading it. You couldn't sort of be called out in real time. There's no chance for a Mike Bathurst to step in and say, "Look, John, you're being a bully. Shut up. Let somebody else talk." Right? Is that why we're seeing more empathy, more sort of respectful disagreement on these kinds of platforms rather than in the in the traditional media?
I don't know how. I guess the only way that I would respond is that the smaller communities are kind of a little bit easier to manage at the beginning, and Mark, and then also the creators of Clubhouse are learning from the Facebooks, the Twitters, and what's going wrong. And what I think I read in the New York Times is that these smaller channels that are getting a lot of popularity right now are having to do in the first year what Facebook is experiencing after 10, 15 years, right? When it comes to you're tackling a lot of these issues really quickly at the beginning, and I'm finding it amazing to see how they're managing around this. Mark, I don't know if you heard, I was kind of fascinated with Clubhouse's rules. They're looking at the violator, but then also the person that invited them. I'm also kind of interested in what Twitter is doing with Birdwatch. I don't know if that's going to, amount to much, and cleaning up Twitter, but I thought it was interesting because we are, rewarding views, we're rewarding likes. This is kind of looking at it, we're rewarding people helping one another. And I don't know if you have thoughts on that. I would like to know what you're thinking.
Yeah. So first of all, I jumped right in with an answer, and I want to start by saying hello to all of you guys. I haven't had the chance to meet all of you previously, but it's a pleasure, and I'm really enjoying the conversation. I always try and catch when Michael is broadcasting. Usually it's too early for me most of the time, but I do love the people that he brings together and the perspectives, and it's really a pleasure to meet all of you guys. So thank you. So Stacey, you were headed down exactly the point I wanted to make. There's a fundamental difference between the way we're building HAPS and the way that traditional media has functioned and the way that these other big social platforms have been built previously. And I don't think people fully understand the difference and realize why we've done it the way that we've done it, but it's a big difference. So traditionally, media and those social media platforms have been built on the attention economy. Essentially, they've created a whole business model that's driven by the attention that you can get to your activity on the platform. And Stacey, it goes to the point you were making that, everybody is chasing ratings in the forms of, traditional media or likes, and reposts and all of those kind of things on social platforms. And that by nature ends up creating an environment for the most controversial and often salacious content to be the most successful in their terms. We built this platform completely from the other perspective. This platform is built so that the economic structure of the platform is all about people rewarding broadcasters for creating quality content. And we don't care if that's 10 people who are, supporting that broadcaster or 10 million people. That's really up to the broadcaster. And, it's just a fundamentally different motivation and structure for the way that this is put together. And I believe it's a much healthier structure. It's not built, you're as a broadcaster, you're not beholden to the advertiser to make them happy. So you're adjusting what you're saying and doing because you're worried some advertiser might be upset with you. I guess you're concerned about the community that's following you, but that kind of seems appropriate. That's in some respects why you're here as a broadcaster, is to establish a relationship with that community, and then hopefully that community believes in you and wants to see you continue to do that, and they decide they want to financially to support you to make it worthwhile for you to do that. It's just a much healthier dynamic in our view than the way these platforms have been built previously.
Can you get an amen? That was good, man. You're on fire.
That's great.
You're on fire, brother.
It helps that this is core to what we're doing. I'm not making this up on the fly. I mean, we've really thought about these issues and we've built this, very purposefully with these kind of things in mind. We're far from nailing it, and we I think, as Michael will tell you, we really do welcome and make adjustments based on feedback we receive. But there's a better way. There is a much better way than what's been going on.
You really answered a question I've been carrying for a long time, Mark, which, like, I saw a TED Talk, and I wish I could remember right now who it was and specifically what the topic was. But the gist of the TED Talk was about the competition for our attention. With a lot of these platforms, basically like how a lot of these platforms are put together to basically compete for as much of your attention, even if it's 10 seconds of your attention, because the outcome is always, can I get you to see an ad? And what you've just explained is that you're going after a different outcome than just sheer eyeballs, and it's more about, I don't know, engagement with the content and feeling and kind of that approach.
And that you've built something from the ground up to do that, right? Because as opposed to Facebook or Twitter that's trying to bolt those standards on now, you've built that in. And that, I mean, Fred and I are technologists and we're in infrastructure. So frequently we get tasked with, how do I bolt on security to this thing? Or how do I bolt on usability to this thing that's sort of been established? And the answer is always, it sucks. It's hard. Ideally you want to do it from scratch. And I think that's, you've seized on that, which is.
No, John, you're so right. And I'm so glad that you circled back to that. I actually was going to address that, because you do see the big social platforms now trying to, bolt these things on. Well, good luck with that. Like the genie's, no, seriously, the genie's out of the bottle. I mean, one of the biggest trending, hashtags on Twitter this week was, RIP Twitter, because people were pissed that they're now going to start, charging people for access to content. People don't have that reaction to Patreon and, HAPS and all of these platforms, because we started that way. It's built on that mentality. But when you try and go back and change your whole, what you represent, and that's a fundamental change. That's not like we'll just add this on. That's a fundamental change between the content creator and the content consumer, and the interaction between the two. And people who consume content on Twitter don't expect to have to pay for it. It's just that's the relationship that it was built on, and you can't change that easily.
Mark, there's a comment here. I like how the developers are hands-on with all the different subscribers and give this platform a family comfortable feeling. And that is the greatest difference I noticed right from the beginning, is that I felt like I was part of something and I was proud to be here. And even when it was going sideways at times, I felt because it was my family, I was going to go down with the ship. I didn't care what it took. And you gave me that. Your employees, the people you picked, you handpicked those people, and they're all incredible communicators.
But I think the question that I don't know that there's an answer to now is, can HAPS remain a family company like that if they're the size of Facebook, right? What if 10 years from now?
I was actually just about to jump in and comment on that. Look, that's I would say that's my biggest challenge, as co-founder and CEO of this company, because the thing about that, what you guys are reacting to is it's not show. It's totally authentic. The people here genuinely care about what we're creating and the community that is making use of it and enjoying it. And look, we're going to have to figure out how to scale that and how to keep it. And I in no way minimize the challenge of doing that. It will be one of the great challenges that we'll face in building this company. And I'm excited and terrified all at the same time about doing that. But we have a tremendous amount of respect for the people who are here, and our responsibility to them to create that environment.
Mark, I'm sorry you walked into this.
No,
I'm not.
You know, like he's like going, oh, it's going to be one of these breezy Michael Bathurst shows. Woo, woo, happiness, joy, joy, bliss, bliss, and then you know, it's like, thank God you warmed up first, right? Thank God you warmed up first.
Look, I love this. You know, Michael, you continue to expose me to really interesting and incredible people, and I'm incredibly thankful. You know, this is a talk about a certain type of business. It's the business of, you know, these platforms. I don't know if it's what you guys intended, you know, the business show to be about, and I certainly don't want to hijack your guys' show.
Well, no, but I think that's the most important element of business is that culture, right? It's not about the process, it's not about the technology. And as a process technologist at a research company, I probably am going to get fired for saying something like that. But the hardest part is always culture, right? And again, people start off with the greatest of intentions, and you can maintain that at a group of 5 or 30 or maybe 300. But, you know, how do you scale beyond that? And like that's the conversation that businesses should be having. There's very few Machiavellian, cartoonish villains with twirly mustaches that are evil, but companies that start off with the best of intentions, once they scale up to a certain size, I don't know if it's a bureaucracy or what, but maybe it's the fact that we, you know, sort of monetize everything, and you know, money is the easiest yardstick to measure success by, the easiest one to agree on an objective accounting, right? Even
when you go public, it's the only measuring stick that matters.
Right? Like at some point, they almost all get twisted and perverted. So I think that's the biggest conversation business should be having.
Look, first of all, I want to thank Randy for calling me out in the comments and keeping me honest as he always does. Yes, I can't wait to set up that call center and try and maintain the culture through something like a call center. And I also want to say hi to Asha, who's just a wonderful person, wonderful broadcaster who had a really fun and challenging broadcast yesterday. But I do want to go back to what you were saying, John, because I find it really interesting. And look, man, I as I said, I think this is going to be one of our greatest challenges. But I had a fascinating experience early on in my career. I worked for a big company, MCA Universal. People don't know it was called MCA back in the day. But,
I do.
You know, yeah. And I started off there at the time of Lou Wasserman and Sid Sheinberg. I mean, just legends in the media industry, and it was a fascinating experience. And then right towards the end, you know, this company that had been around for 60 or 70 years, I forget how long it had been, got acquired. It got acquired right after I joined by Matsushita, the Japanese company, which was a complete culture clash like you never could imagine, right? And I went through 5 years of you know, working within this environment and saw the importance of culture within a company and you know, quite honestly, how badly you can mess things up. And then right towards the end of my time there, Edgar Bronfman came in and bought the company. And I had one of the first meetings with him after he bought the company, because I was kind of working on, you know, one of the most exciting areas, which was launching TV networks around the world. And, you know, we came in to give him a briefing. Anyways, I ended up accepting a position to go create Sky in Latin America. And I got called in to one of the top people who had come in with Edgar, you know, to take over the company. And he sat me down and he said, look, you're crazy. You know, we're about to do amazing stuff here at Universal, and you're leaving right at the wrong time. You know, like, I know this has been a rough ride, but, you know, stick around. This is going to be amazing. And he was very genuinely telling me what he thought, but I looked at him, and this was a pretty major guy, and at the time I was not within the company, and I just said, I totally appreciate what you're saying. I think you guys are wildly underestimating how hard it is to change the culture of a company with 20,000 people in it. It's one thing for you guys to do it on this floor, and the next floor down with 20 people in your little group that's come in here and you all see things the same way. But you've got accountants in the theme park group, who have been here for 20, 30 years and are used to one type of culture. And you've got to change all of that. You got to change that thinking if you're going to truly accomplish what you guys are talking about. And I genuinely hope you can do it, but I think you guys are underestimating what's involved in that. And I actually ran into him about 15 years later, and he said, "You were right. We totally underestimated the difficulty of shifting that company and that culture from what it has historically been. And we're only able to accomplish so much as a result." And as you probably know, they ultimately ended up selling the company and kind of disbanding it, because that's a really tough thing to do, to put to go back. I can only think of a few people in the history of major corporations who have fundamentally changed a corporate mentality and way of doing things. And those people are very powerful people. So I don't think that is a thing that you do easily. I think there's very few people in the world who actually have the ability to do that. I think it's a little easier to start something and build it with a corporate culture that, speaks to that. But it's really hard to go back and change it after the fact, for sure.
Mark, I feel like we awakened the beast within. That was amazing. Thank you. So listen, we're coming up to almost an hour. These people do have lives. You have a live. How do I always end it? Do you know, Mark? How do I end everyone? It's
gratitude.
I know, gratitude. So, who wants to be first on the gratitude train?
I'm brand new to the platform. Fred's been on 6 hours. I think I was on for about 6 minutes before I started with Mr. Bather. So I'll start the gratitude. I'm really thankful that Michael reached out to me and Stacy reached out to me to join. This was not a predictable occurrence. I could not possibly imagine this is how it was going to turn out, and it exceeded beyond my wildest dream. Really good to meet with you, Mark. Really interesting conversation. Again, these are sort of the conversations that I enjoy having, that I want to have, and I think we need to have more of. So I'm really grateful that I took a chance and did something slightly productive on my Sunday morning rather than scroll through news feeds on my phone.
I'm grateful you were here, John. Thank you. Yeah,
I would have taken any opportunity to have a beer one-on-one with John or Stacy or Mike. And I'm happy to have spent Sunday morning with the three of you. But Mark, I'm happy that you've come in and joined us as well. It's really great to meet you.
Okay, we bounced out there for a sec, but we're back.
my thing just hiccuped. But anyway, I was just saying thanks to everybody in summary.
I would probably echo that as well. And hopefully I can word this eloquently, but I'm actually thankful for positive things that are happening during the pandemic. I am just in awe of the connection that we are able to make digitally with one another and on these channels as well. I think just finding the positives that, and looking for more positive side of the pandemic.
Okay, Mark. Your
Yeah. So first of all, really thankful for the opportunity to connect with all of you guys. This has been an incredibly thought-provoking conversation, and I enjoyed it immensely. And I hope to continue to see you guys on HAPS for sure. This morning I woke up feeling very grateful for my family. This has not been an easy journey, particularly the last couple of months. It's been a real challenge, and they've been incredibly understanding and supportive throughout this process, and I'm very thankful for that. So that's the way I was feeling this morning before this, and now I'm thankful that you got me out of my workout, Mike.
Okay. Yeah, as long as we're still friends, it's all good.
Always, buddy. Always.
All right. Thank you, everyone. If you
How
go
about
into
you?
me, what am I grateful for? I have this lady in my life. Her name is Barbara, and she's my wife, and she's incredible. I have someone who's trying to help me immensely. Her name is Stacy, and she's right beside me here. She has made it that you haven't had to tell me to leave the platform. So I've had a lot of really good coaching, because a lot of the stuff I did on Periscope I could not do here. So I've calmed down, and I think just you keeping me grounded as well, Mark, and me wanting to be what's the word, respectful and not be explosive at times, because as much light as there is here, there's a little bit of darkness in here too. So I'm able to now keep that at bay. So I'm very happy. And I had some great teachers. And I've never anticipated the community and the love that I've gotten in here. It's unbelievable. Like, look, second business show in a row. Now, we know Mark is the superstar, but this is $3.98 for a business show, right? This means tomorrow that this will be over 1,000 views, which means this will be all over the world. And Mark, they'll be able to see you turned on, tuned in, and tapped in. Right on, man. We got full essence, Mark, today. I love it. Thank you, everyone. God bless you. Please be kind to
Great
each
meeting you,
other.
Mark.
Thanks for the
Great
opportunity.
to meet you, Stacy. Great to meet you, John. Great to meet you, Josh. Or Fred, sorry.
Yeah, and
Michael,
Randy.
Michael, great to see you as always.
And Randy, thank you